Welcome back to the Mindset Channel, where ancient wisdom meets modern practical strategies to move your life forward. I'm Jono.
And I'm Chrome. Today, we're diving into a practice that's exploded in popularity lately, yet has long roots, hey, older than recorded history. Breathwork, that is.
That's exactly it. Look, from CEOs to athletes to monks and trauma survivors, breathwork's being used as a tool for transformation. But what's really behind this ancient slash nowadays modern again practice?
Well, in this episode, we'll actually break down the science, the history, the method, and of course, the mindset, yeah? Because once you master breath, I know it sounds basic because everybody breathes, right?
Hmm.
But if you master your breath, you begin to master your life.
Exactly right. Like, it's an interesting thing. If you go back 5 years ago, I didn't used to incorporate a lot of breath work in my therapy sessions,
Mm,
but I incorporate quite a bit of it these days. So look, why is breath work booming? All right. So let's start with the rise. So breath work's booming because people are seeking tools that are both simple and profound, without the need to go to an app or a subscription. Everyone can just breathe.
yeah. I think one of those is, that the ice bath,
Yeah,
uh, that Hoffman method.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's Hoffman method. I can't remember now.
Wim Hof.
Winoff. Yeah,
Wim Hof.
yeah, because that's really popular at the moment. Hey,
It is.
and I think that's part of that thing is the breathing system that trend is happening, and it's this is like you're spot on when you said 5 years. What happened 5 years ago?
Right.
What happened 5 years ago, bro?
Pandemic.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So I know it's like a thing of the past now that we don't think about, right?
Yeah.
But it's consequential.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
it's consequential, right? And breathing, it's more than stress relief. It's about reclaiming the one thing we carry from breath to death, and that is our breath, right?
Yeah.
And using it as a gateway to presence, clarity, and balance.
That's right. Look, the pandemic intensified its use, right?
Yes.
People felt they'd lost control
Yeah.
and it was scary, let's face it. The
Yeah.
anxiety levels were through the roof,
Oh
right?
shit, yeah.
And
Like
look,
we were on lockdowns, no one knew what was going on,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
Exactly. Look, and yeah.
Trump was president, Morrison was prime minister. No one knew what was going on, right?
Complete
And
gong show.
and conspiracy theory took over. Bad, all these conspiracy, like it was just a mix of everything. And the only way we can really communicate with each other is our phone calls and Zoom and the internet.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
Look, breathwork offered a way for people to take back some control, just put
yeah,
quite simply,
yeah,
over their stress and anxiety in a world that had become very chaotic and frankly pretty scary.
yeah. It is, and science backed it up as well.
Yeah,
From lowering cortisol, I think that's how you say it.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so. To shifting automatic nervous system states. It's not just spiritual, right? Even though I can show you some spiritualness of it later on, it's actually biochemical. It's
yeah.
where ancient wisdom or ancient knowing meets really modern proof.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, the purpose of breathwork, what is it?
Yeah,
So look, at its core, breathwork essentially has just one purpose, okay? Regulation of the self, something we talk about a lot emotionally, mentally, physiologically.
correct. And spiritually, across traditions, um, breath has always symbolized the spirit. Literally, spirit means breath, ruach. in Hebrew, right? Prana in Sanskrit, pneuma in Greek. You know the word pneumonia?
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, that's Greek, which is like a sickness of the pneuma, the breath, right? If you go back, you know the name of God, Yod He Vav He, it's unpronounceable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually there's no vowels in it. We call it Yahweh, right? But think about it. You can say with a breath.
Ah, wow. I'd never even thought of that.
Yeah, and it was it,
Huh.
it it's not in the Bible, but it's implied in the Bible. When God created Adam, his first word was a breath, which is he woke up.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All
And
right.
people always say this, right? And people say Jesus, the Son of God, right? Yeah. So the spelling in Hebrew is Yod, which is Y, Vav, also W, yeah. Yod He Vav He, so YH, so YH Vav He. So YH Vav He or VH. So if you spell it in English, or um,
Hmm.
Yod He Vav He in Hebrew, right?
Wow.
Yeah, yes, I can read Hebrew. And so if you added, so that's Jehovah or yeah, or
Yeah.
Yahweh, the way we say it. If you add Shin, which is like a W, right? A Shin. Shin is like a candelabra or fire, yeah.
Hmm.
And the sound is sh, right?
Huh.
The sound is sh. So if you add the sh in the middle of Yod He Vav He, it becomes Yeshua, and which
Huh.
is the name of Jesus.
Oh, wow.
So it's not Jesus, it's Yeshua. Now people ask, how is that the Son of God and all that stuff, right? Well, look at the name of God, and then you add the Shin, which is life, yeah, fire, and you got the same name. So all of these names, we say it all the time, and it's part of the breath.
And there's absolutely connotations of breath. The way you explain it, that I never knew. This is what's really fascinating about your knowledge of this sort of thing. It's interesting. Like I say, it goes back to ancient beliefs.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
stuff like
So
that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating. So look, practically speaking, what does breath work help you with? So, why are people doing it? So look, breath work can reduce anxiety. Absolutely. It can interrupt stress cycles. It helps you become more present in the moment.
Mm.
Um, Certain types of breath work can help you access higher states of consciousness. We might talk about that a little bit later. So, but this term can be misunderstood. Okay. It simply means shifting your awareness beyond ordinary everyday thinking to access deeper insight, clarity and presence. It often involves heightened perception or emotional balance and a stronger connection to purpose or intuition. And it's a very good way to rewire your emotional responses.
And for men especially, hey,
Yeah,
many
absolutely. Breathe, guys, breathe.
breathe, guys. Okay, the female women's emotional capacity is, I think, far more advanced than men.
Yeah, I tend to think where women engage their emotions in a more effective way than men do.
Yeah, because women can feel. I've been with my missus for 13 years, and I was raised by women, right? They can go through an emotional cycle of many things, right?
Mm.
In a minute or 5 minutes or an hour.
Yep,
Whereas I'm still in the same emotion.
yep,
Like, I don't know, maybe that's evolution. I don't know, right?
yep.
But especially for men, man, our go-to emotion sometimes is anger, right?
Can be, yeah.
Even though when we're sad, we're feeling angry about it. That doesn't make sense, right? And many of whom we're taught to suppress emotion, especially men. Yeah. So breath works offers a safe, embodied way to process it.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So Breathwork does come with some warnings. All right. And it's I think we need to do the public service announcement here
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, as powerful as breathwork is, it is not for everybody. All
Mm.
right. Or certain styles can induce intense emotional or physical states.
That's it. If you got cardiovascular issues, PTSD, or pregnant, check out with a professional first, yeah? Especially with intense methods like the holotropic or the Wim Hof methods.
Yeah, exactly right. And having said that, look, if people are suffering from something like PTSD, there are other forms of breath work they can do that will absolutely help. That is probably want to stay away from the holotropic type of methods, but we'll get onto what they are again in a few moments. But and look, and some people bypass the emotional work by chasing. Some people are simply chasing altered states.
Mm.
Look, when I do my therapy, that's not my goal. I
Mm.
believe in the therapeutic sense that breath work should ground you in reality,
Yeah,
not detach you from it.
yeah, you're right. That would just be escapism, really, you know.
Yeah, look, if that helps someone, go for it.
Yeah,
My point is, I just don't use that in my therapeutic approach.
I guess the key is integration, really. Breath work opens the door, right? But you must still walk the path, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's not the complete fix.
Yeah,
It's one of many tools, but it's a very, very powerful one as well. So, look, let's break down a few different types of breath work.
yeah.
So, firstly, you have something like, which a lot of people out there will know, is box breathing. Okay. And it's very simple. It's just inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. The Navy SEALs, for example, use this technique. It's really good for focus and for attaining a state of calm.
That's actually box breathing is the most common
Absolutely, it
breath
is.
work that I use. I
Absolutely, it
use it
is.
every day. Yeah.
Wow.
S-
Okay.
Especially before meditation or before prayers or before doing some work or after I got stressed from a call.
Yeah.
And okay, another one is the diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, so
Yeah.
belly rise, and then so from the belly, it make it rises, and then the chest stays still. So this trains the parasympathetic nervous system.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. And we really should, do a lot more breathing like that. This is where vocal training can be really helpful because it teaches you to breathe from the diaphragm.
And I learned that from singing lessons.
So did I. So
Ah,
did
there you
I.
go.
Yeah.
That's not practiced well if you're going to the gym because
Yeah.
people do sit-ups, they want a flat tummy.
Oh,
So
that's a different thing. That's a different
yeah.
thing.
So some people
Yeah.
go, I don't want to do that. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, so look, and then there's something like the Wim Hof method,
and that's popular at the moment.
which
Yeah.
cycles of deep breathing followed by retention. And
Yeah.
it's often paired with cold exposure, and it energizes and builds resilience. Okay. So, look, this technique was created by a Dutch athlete called, oddly enough, Wim Hof. It combines hyperoxygenation with cold exposure and a very focused mindset. Okay. It stimulates adrenaline, boosts immune response, and enhances physical resilience. Okay. It's intense, energizing, and often produces a somewhat of a tingling or a euphoric sensation. It's interesting. I've got a little story about that.
Oh yeah.
I haven't done the Wim Hof breathing for a while, but I was doing it about a year ago, just to see what happens, and it's quite remarkable. The one I was doing, it's to give you the very brief version. You do a particular type of breathing, about 30 or 40 breaths. Okay, I won't get into the details just yet. At the end of that, you hold your breath
Mm.
for as long as you can hold your breath. All right. At first, I could hold my breath for about a minute. That was
Mm.
it. a couple of months later, it didn't take long, it was only a couple of months, I was able to get through that breathing process and hold my breath for 4.5 minutes.
Holy shit.
And
Didn't you
it, and
oh
it,
my
and it
God.
felt comfortable. I could not believe what was
Wow.
happening. And essentially, what you're doing as you go through it, you're just gently letting out a little bit of the breath, every 20 or
Mm.
30 seconds, just letting it out
Mm.
little bit by little bit. I could not believe the change. All right. So, look, each style creates a different physiological and psychological state. Um, Essentially, go and choose the one that's aligned with what you're intending to do.
Yeah. The other one is the holotropic breath work, which is
Oh, of course. Yes.
yeah. That's rapid breaths to access non-ordinary states of consciousness. This is now hectic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was developed by psychiatrist Stanislav Grof, right? Holotropic breathwork uses controlled hyperventilation to induce non-ordinary states of consciousness, right? It's designed for deep emotional release, trauma healing, and expanded awareness. Yeah.
Mm.
Sessions are often like facilitated, and they can feel like a psychological journey for inner vision. But I'll give you a
I've
heads up
got,
on
go,
this
go
is
ahead. Sorry, mate. Go
yeah.
ahead.
That's just I'll give you guys a heads up. You are imitating um hyperventilation here, right? So be careful of
Well,
this
you're
one
not
as well.
imitating, you are
You are, well,
hyperventilating.
you are, yeah. You're hyperventilating. You're also replicating when you run in a marathon, or after you run, you breathe a lot, right? So you're
Yeah.
replicating that as well. So just heads up on that one.
Yeah, look, I do with the that holotropic type of breathing. I've never done it.
Oh, sure.
To
Okay.
be honest, I've never done it, but I have numerous clients who've done it and speak very highly of the results. Perhaps it's something I need to have a look into. But look, each style creates a different, like I said, a physiological or psychological state, and yeah, just choose one that aligns with your intention.
Yeah, the hypertrophic breath, we did that in Aikido. Not all
Mm,
schools did that, but we will go like you really empty your belly
yeah,
and then breathe, and then breath out. Breathe, and then breath out. Because in martial arts, when it's on, it's on. You don't
right,
have time to warm up to be on,
right,
right?
right.
So when you're on, your adrenaline kicks in, and all these things are on. You're hyper vigilant, or you're very vigilant anyway, and you
Mm,
needed to train to breathe in that level and stay sane,
yeah,
or not sane, but stay together, if that made sense, right? So we did a lot about that. So breath works. Breath. What I'm trying to say. So it works because it bypasses the thinking mind and it goes straight to the limbic system. Yeah. So
mm,
it's the seat of emotion and memory.
that's it. Like breathing deeply. And I put it, it signals to the body that you're safe.
Yeah.
Reduces amygdala activation, quietens the nervous system, and has the effect of anchoring you in the moment, regardless of what's happening around you.
The key word there, what Jano said, guys, is the amygdala, reduces the amygdala
Our good
activation.
friend, the amygdala,
Oh, good old amygdala.
he comes up every episode.
and 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 it's also immediate. Like one of the practices that I do is I dedicate around midday. Yeah, I offer this to myself. I give, I offer to my body. Yeah, 5 deep breaths. That's it. So I pause and okay, Chrome, or I talk to myself. These 5 breaths are for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Nice.
that's yeah, and every single time I do it, I love it. And
Yep.
and within 3 breaths, right? It's the effects is immediate already.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
enjoying breathing. When was the last time you enjoyed breathing? Not because you almost drowned in a pool or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You're actually enjoying like, oh, that's so good, right?
Yeah, I actually do a technique called the physiological sigh, which I teach to a lot of people, but I do it between sessions every day. Between every single session, I'll do like a minute or so of the physiological sigh just to get myself centered, let the previous session go, and have myself grounded for the next one.
Especially what you do for a living, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So look, it's mindfulness in motion.
Yeah.
It's physiology reprogrammed, and breathwork's truly ancient.
Yeah. It's what's I guess what's different from what we are saying, guys, what we're trying to say here and what is normal breath is these breaths are conscious breaths and not just unconscious breaths, right? So
Exactly
let's,
right.
and that's a difference, right? Breath work is conscious. And from a lot of meditation apps and all these meditation videos I've ever watched, right? One of the things that separates breath work from normal breath is when you focus on your breath, well, apparently, doesn't happen all the time. The lizard brain, the amygdala, and the monkey brain shuts up because you're giving them something to do, which
Yeah.
is to focus there whilst your body enjoys your breath. So let's answer a deeper question now. Why is breath work so effective? Not just in theory, but in actual lived experience. Yeah. Why does a few minutes of focused breathing shifts you from panic to peace? And
Mm,
it begins with the autonomic nervous system. Most of us live in constant state of sympathetic dominance, fight, flight, freeze. Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Our breath becomes shallow, tight, and reactive.
That's exactly right. Um, the breath is unique. It's the only system in the body that's both autonomic and under conscious control. Just let that sink in. It's a really good statement. It's the only
Yeah.
system in the body that's both autonomic and under conscious control.
Yeah.
Okay, that means you can use it like a lever. All right. It's
Mm,
almost like a manual override for your
mm.
stress response.
That's pretty cool, hey.
It is
I
fantastic.
don't know if this is true. Okay. Um, have you heard of the water eight theory?
No, I haven't.
So, okay, this is one of the most fascinating theories I've ever heard. So, human beings, we came, let's talk about primates, right? So, human beings apparently are hominids, right? Especially Homo sapiens like us, came from primates that are water bound. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's why we're straight. We're not on our fours, right? That's why if you look at our feet, they're not hands, right? They look like flippers,
Mm,
right? And human beings, or the species Homo that includes Homo erectus, Neanderthals, and Homo sapiens, right?
mm.
We have this fat like blubber.
Right. Some of us more than others.
So with varying degrees, of course. And you normally get this blubbery fat from aquatic animals as well, right?
Yeah.
From hippos to elephants and all that stuff, right? So one of our theories is like that. And there was a theory that a lot of ancient primates do not have the capability of conscious control.
Right.
And because of that, they couldn't talk and communicate. They just need to breathe.
Right.
How interesting is that?
But that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
When you breathe deeply, especially into the belly, you activate the vagus nerve, which signals the parasympathetic system to take over, right? So the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body. And cranial nerve as in starts from the cranium and it goes somewhere,
Right.
right? And plays a critical role in parasympathetic nervous system, the branch that is responsible for rest and digest functions. Yeah, it runs from the brainstem. So imagine the brainstem, yeah,
Mm.
through the neck and into the chest, influencing your heart rate, your digestion, and your respiratory rate. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
your heart slows down. Muscles relaxes. Yeah. Cortisol levels drop and brain fog clears. It's not magic. It's biology. Yeah. And it's aligned with awareness.
Right. Right. Look, there's more to that as well. Okay. So, look, breath work increases your CO2 tolerance. Okay. It improves oxygen delivery to tissues and balances pH levels in the blood. So, in short, it restores you to physiological harmony.
Yeah. So in case you want to go science really on that one, why does that matter? The CO2 and the oxygen level and the pH level, right? So we have this buffer, right? It's like when you see carbon dioxide, bro, in Coca-Cola.
Yep.
So so that we have this buffer system in our body and it adjusts the pH levels and it depends on the oxygen and carbon dioxide level. You know, it took me one semester to understand that.
Right. Right. Right.
But it's not just the body, right? It's the mind. And this
Yep.
is the mindset channel. Yeah.
Yep.
So conscious breathing anchors you to your presence. Yeah. Especially your present moment. It
Mm.
interrupts looping thoughts. Yeah. Helps release trauma stored in your body. Yeah. The trauma is in the body. So you're releasing that. And
Yeah.
it builds emotional resilience over time. That's a big one, bro.
Absolutely. And there's something probably even more subtle as well. When you breathe with intention, um, you're very simply reminding yourself, um, I'm in control.
Yeah.
I can create calm from within. And that's a really powerful realization.
Yes. And I just want to add this to that one, guys. When somebody says to you, take a breath, it's not an insult.
Right.
Okay. Like seriously follow it. Don't get triggered by it.
Yeah.
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 It's like take a breath a minute. It's not an insult, it's not an attack. Literally,
It
that's
actually helps.
it actually helps. And if you train yourself not to get triggered when somebody says breathe, right? Or take a breath, you're helping yourself. And you're
Yeah.
also helping yourself but by not being easily triggered. So
Yeah.
let's honor the ancient lineages in yogic tradition, Judeo-Christian traditions as well. Remember, the third persona of God is is breath.
That's quite profound, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so subtle. There's God
Yeah.
the Father, God the Son, and the Spirit, right? The Spirit is is everywhere. It's energy, right? Yeah,
Mm.
but it's known as the breath.
Yeah.
When God made up in the Bible, when God made Adam from clay, right? God breathed on him, right? And think about it. What does a dead person do not do?
Well, they don't breathe, obviously.
They don't breathe. So that's the essence of life, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a bridge between the body and the soul, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. All right. Um, the in was it Taoism?
Yeah.
The inner breath
Yeah.
cultivates what's called ki, the life force.
Yeah.
Okay. And like you said in the Bible, God breathed into man the breath of life.
Yeah.
This is breath and breath work is actually anchored in a whole array of ancient beliefs and religions as well.
That's it. And so God, for those Christians here, you can relate with me in this one. And also probably a lot of martial artists, you can also relate to this one. So what happened is God had an idea, right? He's the creator. He thought about it, yeah, and he breathed some words, yeah. Words came out. That's called
Right.
logos,
Right.
yeah? And that is the manifestation of Jesus, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that's
Hadn't
why
heard that
he's
before.
that's why he's called the word,
Oh, okay.
because it's now intelligent breath.
Huh.
Yeah. And if you look at Genesis, or every time there's a miracle, it was an idea, and breath comes out, and it was intelligible, and something happened after that as a result. So when when a human being is in control of his thoughts, right? He's also in control of the words of what's coming out of him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that really comes across via your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that this is high level stuff now, guys, right? So seriously, how what if your breath, every single breath that you did, yeah, is a blessing to yourself? Like, think about that for a minute. What if everything you said about you and your life and your surrounding was a blessing to yourself?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Wouldn't
You
wouldn't
know?
it indeed?
Yeah. And in Stoicism, Epictetus taught that we cannot control events, but we can control our response. And the breath is the beginning of that control.
Exactly. And that particular statement ties very much into something we talk about a lot here on the Mindset channel is focusing on what you can control
Yeah,
and let go of all the rest.
that's
Okay.
it.
But look, so look, breath isn't just air.
Mm,
Some would say that breathing's a kind of a spiritual technology, refined through, centuries of practice.
yeah,
All right. So, look, breath work becomes even more powerful when you pair it with psychotherapeutic techniques.
yeah. For example, combine CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
reframing with breath work during anxiety episodes.
Yeah.
You're you're calming the body and challenging the thought. Man, this is your thing, Jono.
Absolutely. Or use anchoring from NLP. How often do we talk about that?
Man, we talk about it
Uh,
every episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And anchoring techniques are so powerful. So, you can pair a breath pattern with a powerful memory.
Mm,
That breath becomes, that portal to confidence or calm or clarity of mind to something you can simply do on demand.
that's awesome. Or use future pacing. Yeah. Visualize
Yeah,
your future.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then self-breathing with ease in moment of stress.
yeah,
Yeah. Your your programming, you are programming your nervous system ahead of time,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Remember what Gordon said, one of his favorite triggers, and that is, imagine yourself after you achieve what you want. Imagine yourself the day after, not during, the day
Right, right.
after.
Future pacing is such a
If
great
future
technique.
pacing, yeah. So similarly, imagine yourself when you're calm, collected, ahead of your time, and you're there already, right?
Absolutely. I use that in my hypnotherapy sessions all the time. At some point during the session, getting people to visualize themselves, a few months down the track when they've addressed the current issue that they're addressing and engage in the state of mind of this future version of yourself, engage in the learnings of this
Hmm.
future version of yourself. Really powerful tool. But as with um, as with a lot of things as well, we often mention journaling or just jotting things down to track them. So it's really important when you're engaging in breath work, rather than just sort of leaving it as a random thing, track your shifts. All right.
Hmm.
Keep a journal, note how you feel before the session and then how you feel again after the session. and then track it sort of weekly as well as you continue on this journey of using breath work. Just track the changes. So, so look, what is breath work really?
It's what is it really? It's a return. It's a stabilizer. It's grounding, and it's necessary.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And it's not just about doing a technique. It's about becoming the kind of person who chooses to engage in presence over panic
Mm.
and stillness over survival mode. So many people, we mentioned a little earlier in the episode, but so many people are in this state of limbic activation. They're in that fight or flight or freeze um, all the time.
Mm.
And you can, through your breath, simply choose stillness over your survival mode.
Your breath is not just a tool or something you need to do to stay alive. It's also a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. And as it's a teacher, when you truly listen to it, and I mean truly listen to it, it can bring you home. So, Crom,
Yeah.
I think it's your turn this week to be put on the spot. What would you like to say to everyone out there to finish off today's episode?
Okay. Let me think about this one. I love breath work. It's one of the Aikido techniques is kokyuho. No, I'm not swearing or calling you names. Okay.
Sounds like you are.
Every time I say that, they go, what? Did you just say kokyuho? Okay. So this is the shape of kokyu. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
And then can you hear the
yeah.
that HO sound that I made? So that's this. Yeah. So that's for defense for anyway. So that's breath power, right? You see a lot of people doing this in Tai Chi. Yeah. This is
Mm,
Aikido, right?
mm,
And it's deliberate. It really fills me up. And it's and it works. So guys, if you're watching or hearing with me, pull over for a minute. Just stop for a minute. Yeah, yeah. Take a breath with me now. Inhale and exhale. That breath, that simple act is the thread that has tethered you to every moment of your life. Okay? Every moment of your life had a breath in it.
mm.
Yeah? And yet, how often have we overlooked it? Or how often have you noticed it that you're probably preoccupied with everything. So how often do we lose touch with the very force that has been with us from our first cry when we were born to the last very second before we pass on?
Right.
It's our only act that we've done,
Mm,
right? So you see, the breath is not just air, it is a bridge between your body, your mind, your soul, and to be honest, your life, right? Between your conscious patterns and unconscious, between your unconscious patterns, that's what I'm trying to say, and your conscious choice, right? Between chaos and clarity. Your breath changes if you're in chaos or if you're
right.
in clarity. You can, and it can breathe your way into a new state. The ancient mystics knew this. They call it chi, ki, prana, pneuma, ruach, which is Hebrew. Um, we call it in the Western world as simply a spirit, right? Hence the word inspiration or inspire, expire. That word
Mm,
spire means spirit, right? So learn to really appreciate that spirit. Okay. They didn't see it as just air or oxygen. They didn't know what the hell is oxygen back then. Yeah. But they looked at it as something that gave you life, that is
Yeah.
spirit made visible, if you can see it, or visible that is manifested, a spirit that is
Mm.
manifested. And now neuroscience, our modern high-tech science, right, is catching up. Yeah. We know breath slows the limbic system. It regulates emotions. It brings the wandering mind back into the sanctuary of the now. And more than that, it gives you power. Yeah. Because in every breath, there is a choice to react or to respond, to suppress or to release, to survive and just survive, or to evolve. And
Mhm.
this is the essence of the modern mindset. Not to escape the world, but to meet it with presence, with poise, with style if you want, right? And definitely with power. Breath work is not a hack. Well, it is a hack, but it's not just a hack. It's a shortcut. It is a path, a discipline, a, a, reconnection, yeah, to the part of what was never broken, you know, to begin with. Remember, the sign of life is your breathing. Yeah. So I ask you, what would change in your life if you must give yourself 5 minutes a day to breath work? Yeah. What might unfold if instead of rushing into your morning, you're first tuned into the quiet rhythm within? And I'm looking at you, smokers. Yeah, looking at you. I'm looking at you. That first ciggy. Yeah. Because sometimes, yeah, the most radical act of strength is to pause, to breathe, and to choose who you become next. And this work is the modern warrior's work. Yes, we're that's fancy name for that. It's modern. Yeah, it's a modern human being, the modern evolved human being. And this is the breath of a modern sage, right? Jono, you know what I found out when the printing press was released?
What's that?
Less than 10% of the population can read.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I have heard this before. Yeah, yeah.
So, and back then, people that can read were called magicians.
Hmm.
Hence the
Hmm.
word wizard, because they're the wise ones.
Right.
Yeah. So if we're now hyper educated in our society where everybody pretty much can read, aren't we all modern magicians?
Hmm.
So, well, until next time, and I'll leave this message with you. We live in this magical world, right? So I was telling Jano earlier on that Google's releasing, I'm not trying to advertise them, they're releasing a almost a 3D um, 3D monitor, right? AI is upon us. We have all these breathing techniques. We have modern medicine. We can talk to someone in the other side of the world in our own language, and they will hear it from their native language. So we are, after all, living in a magical times. We call it technology, right? But it's pretty cool, hey? So why can't be living the magical life as well? So breathe deeply, yeah, live deliberately, and take a first step boldly in the direction of your higher self, right? This is Chrome from the Mindset Channel. If this episode resonates with you, take a moment right now and one deep breath, okay? And breathe out. Thank you for being with us here at the Mindset Channel. If you found this episode useful, like and share and subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell so you'll be notified when the next episode comes out. Once again, this is Chrome.
And this is Jono. We'll see you next week. Thanks very much for coming along today, everyone. and
and,
breathe.
and breathe.
See you next week.